Hi everybody and welcome back to the painting channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you all about composition, snow and shadow. So let's roll that intro. Let's see what it's all about. Hi everybody, welcome back. Now, as I said at the start, there is quite a bit happening in this video tutorial. I want to talk to you about composition and the rule of thirds, but moreover, taking several photographs of a scene that you really like and then choosing the right one for its composition, its look, and what will be most pleasing when it comes to painting it. And at the same time, I also want to talk to you about painting snow, practice, and also shadows. And so what I've done is I divided this tutorial into two parts. You'll get part one now, which is all about the snow, the composition and the photographs, and also about practice. And in part two, we'll take all that information forward and we'll complete a painting based on the photographs that I will show you and also all the information and the practice that I've done in this part. So without further ado, let's get on and let's see what it's all about. Okay everybody, so let's first and foremost talk about the pictures and why I chose one over another. Now in front of me at the moment on the screen I've got a nice picture of snow, and it is lots of bracken in there, which is really fantastic because you've got lots of oranges, lots of blue tones going on, and they really do work and resonate well when it comes to doing a snow painting, whether it's in watercolor, oil, pastel, it doesn't really matter. They just work so well because there are so many complementary colors going on. But why have I sort of gone away from this particular picture? Now you can see the tree is beautiful, but it's sat right in the middle of my picture plane. I really did like this painting, or at least the idea of doing this painting when I first took the photograph. But I suddenly realized that I was a bit of a fool when it comes to the composition. Now there is a thing going way back in history called the golden mean, and it's where artists and alike worked out a long time ago that the best advantage for a composition is have your focal point in one of the corners, a cross section that is either in the upper thirds, the lower third, and left or right. It doesn't matter which one it is, as long as it dissects the sort of third areas of your painting. So this one clearly does not fit that grade, and as much as I love it, I had to dismiss it. So now let's take a look at another picture. Same tree, different location. So I've moved around and I've moved away from this tree, and the idea now is that I've got not only a much more pleasant composition, I have a situation where I've got a nice sky involved. I've got some lovely colors in the background that are got aerial perspective. They're much cooler, not as hot as those in the foreground. We've got some nice shadows and we've got some nice lights, but moreover we've got this lovely path that goes all the way up through to just off center. I could quite happily move the tree over just a shade more to make it really work for me, and I think I may well do that, but it may or may not be in this particular video. We shall see. So the other part of this is the same picture that I had in the first photograph, but I've simply moved the camera over just a tad, and I think what we've got is an even better composition. What I've got here is a lovely tree, and it is way over on the right hand side, and the track leads up and into the tree. So now we've got a track that goes from the bottom left all the way up through to the middle ground, and it ends somewhere at the base of the tree, which is fantastic. Couldn't have got that better if I tried. The little bush on the left hand side extreme will go. That won't be in the picture because it doesn't do anything, it doesn't bring anything to the composition. But everything else really works. Now I would have liked a little bit more light and dark, a little bit more sunshine at the point, but I can probably create a little bit of that. But I think that makes a really nice picture. So what am I going to show you one more? Well, I'm going to show you one more. This one now is very much the same sort of image, and it is just cropped in a little bit tighter on the tree, but it is a portrait format. Now, you don't have to have landscapes in landscape format. You can actually make very, very dynamic statements with a landscape without going too detailed into it, and therefore causing yourself to become quite a mundane picture in certain ways. I think sometimes if you can take an element of your landscape picture and then take it to the format and change that format to portrait, sometimes you can add something extra to that compositional dimension, as it were. So I'm looking at this one too, and the thing is that coming in tighter to the image, I think it's made a much more pleasing statement. I've got some lovely lights, and the track is, although it is a little bit off or out of the picture, if I really want to, I could bring that track into play and let it come across to meet the tree again. So those are the images that I've been looking at, and I think that the first one obviously is out. The second one is really nice but could have been made better. The third one, if I really wanted to stick to landscape, is absolutely spot on. It's got some lovely dynamics. It's got the tree over to the right hand side and that lovely track that moves straight in across the picture plane to the tree. And this other one, this portrait aspect, quite like that. I think I'm going to have a go at that one, but I'm going to do that in a minute. First and foremost, let's just talk about snow and shadows. Okay, so the next picture that I'm showing you now is just a little bit of snow on the same day, and what I've tried to do here is show you how you can take a scene and create a much more dynamic shadow with that scene. Now, when you're painting snow in watercolor, of course, you're going to leave your white paper as the ultimate white space for your snow. And everything else you do to create the snow or the effect of snow is going to be shadow work, 9 out of 10 times. And the way to photograph snow, if you can, not always possible, but if you can, is to take your pictures where the sun is coming across from one side or the other side. So you get a, you're looking down, as it were, but the sun is either one or the other. And that way you get some beautiful shadows coming across your picture plane. If you take the picture with the sun in front of you, everything is going to be muted color wise, and it's going to be intense, and you will have all sorts of problems with the camera reading for the snow or the sky or whatever it is you're taking a picture of. And if you've got the snow or you've got the sun behind your shoulder when you take a picture, then apart from getting your own shadow in the picture, all your shadows are going to be facing away from you, and you're not really going to gain anything by that. So ideally, if you can actually take your picture with the sun left or right, then you're going to get some beautiful shadow work going on across your painting. Now the thing is, it's also a little bit like painting rivers or water. You know, if you've got some nice cast shadows going across the water in that way, it's the same idea. So anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of a paint job now. I'm going to show you how I would tackle some snow, some shadows, and a little bit of underbrush, and then we get on to doing the proper tutorial in a short while. Okay, so before we get on to the main part of this tutorial, let's have a little play around with some snow ideas on a scrap piece of paper. Now these are, as I say, scraps. I keep all of them from offcuts of larger sheets, of course. Never throw them away. You never know when you're going to need something to play about with, and even if it's just testing color on or testing out an idea and working out possible issues that you may or may not have. And I tell this to all my students, that when you are creating a piece of work, if you've done an extensive drawing and you've got a lot of complication in it, or even not so much complication, it doesn't really matter. But if you are not sure about doing a sky or the foliage or a house or something, then by all means, please, instead of just going on into your painting, having an issue further in and wrecking all that work, then take odd bits of paper like this and quite simply try out the ideas, see if they work, see how to create them so that when you do come to your painting, you are better prepared to do it. So that's a good tip and a good piece of advice. Okay, so I'm not going to need this. I don't really need to draw anything on this. I'm just going to play around with some watercolors and see what we can create. Here I've got all my brushes, and I'm going to be using a small selection today. I think I may well get that lovely dagger. Well, not that one. I'm going to get this one out. It's a lovely dagger and nice angle on that one. And I've got a couple of smaller rounds. Let's go in with that one and that one. These are the red dot series. This one isn't, but most of them are red dots or sables from Rosemary and Company. And some of these brushes I've had for donkey's years, and it just keep on working so well. Okay, I think if I need any more, I can come back into this, but I think we can get most of it done with each side. My palette, as always, is the same one I always use these days, which is my Craig Young box. It's got additional colors that I've glued in. That's because I'm greedy. And to be fair, you don't need all of these at all. Anyway, right, there you go. Brushes, paint sorted. Let's crack on and let's see what happens. So nice clean water. And all I'm going to do is mix up some ultramarine blue. Now, ultramarine blue is quite a violety red blue, but you can actually take that further and find some ultramarine violet. Now, this is the same color, but it's got a little bit more red to it. It's a little lovely in that purpley in that sense. You don't need too much. I'm not going to make a complete painting. I'm just going to have a little play around. Okay, so that's nicely dried off. And what I'm going to do now is come in with a smaller brush, and I can use this one or I can use the dagger. It really doesn't matter. What I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to put in a nice, warm, bright green. I'm going to use some Aureolin, which is a little bit dirty, I've got to say. Almost green as it sits. A little bit of the phthalo green. Got to be careful with that phthalo. It's very, very aggressive. But it gives me quite a nice green with the Aureolin. I don't want too much of this. I just want to come in and start putting in one or two bits and pieces of information randomly around the areas that I consider to be catching the grasses through the snow, because it's not very deep snow, and they are catching the light and the sunshine here. But you're not going to paint that colour down in here. These are going to be much darker. These are just suggesting those areas that are in full sun. Tapping, pretty much all I am doing is just tapping away, creating the idea. Now here we've got a little bit more going on in terms of, we've got little passages where I did this big large volume of snow up here. We're now coming in with the dark areas in here to give that some form of context as a large bank of snow, and the sort of shadows and the grasses on top coming down. You may want to go in for a finer brush at this point. You don't have to. Just depends what you're most comfortable doing. A little bit of dark in here, little taps of information that are going through the whole of this picture. And then across over here we've got some more darks, of course. I'm going to come back in with the dagger, and I'm going to come in with some of these lovely darks. Now, because this is pretty dry, I can get away with quite a lot. I'm going to come in with a little bit more of that dark in terms of Payne's grey. I'm just going to be flicking some of these things over in here like this, and you can start creating more where I'll put darker parts in like this. Okay, that's what I'm doing, creating that little sticky dead stuff that's in our snow and through there like that, and I'm paying attention to the way that it grows, the way that it pops out through, and you get the odd little bit coming that's on its own. It's sort of buried in snow, and you get the idea that you've got all these little fragile dead bits of stick and twig from last year's growth still there, still trying to poke up above that snow that's just fallen. And all I'm doing is creating the idea or the illusion of what is there. There we are. Okay, so one little picture of practice picture of snow, and hopefully you get the idea from that. And when you come to do the main painting of the part of this tutorial, then you get the idea of what you can actually achieve. So we're going to put that one to one side, put that there. What I wanted to do now, very quickly, is have another go with a little illusion of distance with our snow. So we've got it's coming with a cooler blue colour. We're going to use some of the violet ultramarine here, little bit of the sienna, and we're going to make a dirty grey. Now we've got blues and reds, but we also introduced our yellow, and what we've done here is we've created a little suggestion of a warm grey. So I'm going to bring that all the way through there like that. Okay, so that's pretty much dried off. That blew away. This one blew away. We'll put that back in place. Okay, so moving swiftly forward, I want to put in some information in here now. I want it quite cool. Now I've got a greeny colour that we used earlier. I'm going to put some neutral tint to that. And this is the Schminker one it's quite okay, but it's a little bit on the warm side still. So I'm going to cool it down, add in a little bit of the blue violet into there, grey it up a little bit more. And I don't want it too strong. What I wanted to do is put in a second colour, almost dry brush, and it's a little bit weak. Let's come back in and I'm going to come across here now with the idea, tapping around, we've got a big tree line that takes us all the way off our picture plane, but then we can come in here and we can suggest all bits of trunk and bits of stuff coming down. It's a very, very quick study, a little bit of practice, that's all it is. Okay, now I'm going to come down in here, having warmed that up, let's come in with some raw sienna and all of that. Let's just bring some of that down as it gets closer to some light, just a few fringe colours hitting and popping out with that lovely shade of the raw sienna going into that very, very striking change of colour, and resonates beautifully with our blue colours that are lying at that point. If you're going to use a rigger, we're going to come in with a much stronger dark. This is a lot of Payne's grey in there, way too much for my needs. I'm going to bring some over here. I'm going to come in with some orange, and that transparent orange, look at the way that it just really interrupts that dark. And you can make this as cool or as warm as you really want it to be, but make it quite thick, not too thin. And what I'm going to be doing now is I'm not going over these particular marks. I want to do everything but do that. What I want to do is come through here now and suggest that we've got trees that are much closer like this, and lots of little bits of branches and information, so that we've got the idea of trees that are much closer in the hedgerow, and you can see through them into the distance, and you've got a lot more happening, and it just creates extra aerial perspective, more dimension to the painting that you're going to do. Now, if I were doing this as my painting, my main painting, I may work as furiously as this, but there's also a very good chance that I would take a little bit more time and just be careful about some of my marks so that I get them where I want them, and take a little bit of care. But this is a very quick study, and hopefully all the information you need is contained so that you can go off and have a go yourself. and have a bit of a practice. I'm going to put in just a few lighter, longer, warmer maybe. Let's come in with a little bit of warmth in that orange there. Just bring some of those through here into this blue so that we've got much stronger, bigger, larger bits of grass, and they can be sticking out of our snow. Job. All right, very quick idea of painting a couple of practice pieces so that you can get yourself ready, armed to move forward in the main painting. And on that subject, I'm going to say that will be the end of this little tutorial, and I'm going to hopefully get you to join me in the next one in a fortnight from now, where I will put all this information together into one main painting, which was the trees and that lovely landscape that I showed you right at the beginning of this tutorial. So I hope you join me. If you've enjoyed this, then please don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. Click that bell icon and the notification tab. It really does help the channel grow and reach a much wider audience around the world. That would be fantastic, and I appreciate it very much. And at the same time, don't forget there are several tiers over on my Patreon. The details underneath this in the Show More tab. Have a look at that if you want to have a look around, and I'll put the references on there for you to enjoy as well. Have a look around. If you want to get involved in my Patreon, you'll be so welcome. It'd be fantastic, and it doesn't cost you an awful lot, and there is no tie-in. You can opt in and out as you wish to. But all the references that I put onto my Patreon for all my tutorials on YouTube are free to download, free to use, so have a go at them, and I look forward to catching you all in a fortnight when we get back to this subject and we do the main painting and part of this tutorial. So until that time, wherever you are, take care, enjoy your painting, stay safe, have a little bit of a practice, and I'll catch you in a fortnight. Take care. Bye-bye.